Hello, Internet. This is E. Schrodinger's cat here with another episode of Builder's Dreams on the Iskal85 Patreon server. Last time, we did something different and we started these two buildings, this project at Spawn, which I started previously over there, but now I started in more of full form and whatnot. So, we got these towers up and running, and this floor, which I'm not entirely happy with, but we'll keep it for now. I do really like these two towers, and what I've done since then is I have made platforms for buildings, and this is meant to be a community space, so anyone here on the server can build anywhere on these platforms. I wanted to, we had decided on an elven theme, like an elven city theme, so I wanted to build up the area because there were these mountains here, and I thought it would look nice to have these platforms. So this is what I did basically all of last night, and I think it's looking good. I got this design here going all the way around. That took a long while to figure out. A lot of changes and stuff. What I plan to do is I think I'm gonna make like a shipyard here, like along the shoreline here, and then have it kind of extend that way. There's actually an island. We're here, that's that direction. We're looking towards this island. You can see it actually from here. And, I wanna make some sort of big bridge to connect to this island, assuming nobody's over here. So, yeah, I think this island, and then from there, I think I can take it to, I can do more in-depth stuff because it's farther away from Spawn, and I think, yeah, I want to do something with this island. But that's it for today. That's it for Spawn for today, as far as I know. So let's go back to my base and see what I worked on a little bit over here. If the world loads in, lag spike, there's that. Nothing changed over here. Kind of lost a little bit of inspiration for this part, but it'll come back, don't worry. Alright, load in. Come on, world. Faster. Yep, there's the tree. So what I started to do was I started to take the terrain down to the half black level that the tree is at, which I think looks a lot better, I think it's going to look a lot better when I get it all done. It looks a little weird now because you have the contrast between the half block section and the full block section, but I think it's going to do us some good, and we can come through and we can texturize it and make it look better. And I also brought this blue back, and I'm going to keep expanding the blue around as I, keep going. But this half block stuff is very tedious. Taking a scale down a level is very tedious. So it's going to be something I'm going to do in a process. So I think what I want to do today is decorate this area around the void hole. This area by the tree, and I gotta stop doing that zoom thing. I told myself in the other episode I would stop, but it's like an addiction. So I'm gonna collect myself and figure out what I'm gonna start to do here. So I've got some blocks lined up here. I got ice, I got some just random blue and brown crap that I found in the creative menu, and I am starting to put in these ice plants. They're not really supposed to be ice. It's ice block from chisel, and my default when I go to make nature stuff is to just grab some leaves and start making plants like that, but green isn't in our color palette for one, and for this area anyway, for one, and for two, I mean that's kind of my default go-to thing if I want to create nature, is just to grab some oak leaves and just go wild placing them around, and I wanted to do something different, and that's why I was, I got all this sand stuff down in there. I wanted just something different, an organic sort of area that isn't the same thing that I've been doing over and over for the last several years. And I think that's looking good. Oh, it's turning nighttime. Well, you can fix that. Fixed. We did it. And I think it's looking good. I'm hoping they look enchanted. I want to make this look like crystalline enchanted area. So I'm going to put these around probably everywhere. And so I think the next thing that's gonna need doing is I need some sort of structure around here, because I don't want to have this just nature. I want to have it be a living space for something. So what I am probably gonna do is maybe have like a deck overlooking probably right here, overlooking the void hole. I've started to work out this. I have this area empty, and I think I'm going to keep it hollow like this so I can fill it with plants and keep it a more, less of a castle feel and more of like just a fancy decorated thing. And you'll notice over time that I have a habit of starting out all of my builds areas with making pathways and bridges, and that is right now I'm and that is because I think it's a great way to make it's a very simple structure, and it's a good way to define a style, because you get to see, you have your elements, you have your floor, you have your color palette, you have your posts and your supports, and then you start to develop motifs through it, and then you can carry that to buildings. And a lot of buildings do have attached bridges and pathways and fences and stuff, so it's just a good place to start, and it's where I always start. Right now I'm texturizing the floor here. I've got the chiseled oh boy, that looks terrible. Okay, let's rethink that choice. Okay, planks. What kind of planks we got here? We got this is the one we're using primarily. So if I can come through here and get maybe a I'll be right back. I figured it out a bit more, and more than that, I started to make some arches and stuff. Got this. I like how this is. It's it's two different angles, flat angles. I don't do a lot of straight angles because I tend to prefer curves, but in this particular instance it looks cool because I had this here and this here wasn't uneven, so I just slanted it across like that. Very nice. And added these, so I basically have these kind of on the half block scale, I have these limestone brick arches, and then in the middle of them I have these concrete smaller ones, and on top I have these tile things. And I was going again for a more kind of fancy style, almost goofy style buildings, but I'm trying to be different from what I was doing on the other side. So I think the idea for this area is that I'm going to have a lot of very open buildings with these sort of half roofs where they're like arches and they have these little overhangs and such, but they're not, it's not like, I just want it to be very open and naturey and not, you know what I mean. But right now, I want to add detail to these roofs, and I tried a few things. I tried straps and stuff, but it was looking too much like the stuff we got going over there, where you have the red concrete and with the straps of the red clay on top of them. So what I'm going to try and do, I have some light blue, this is blue hardened clay tiles from Cork, and I'm going to try and texturize in a little bit of regular clay to, instead of breaking it up with shape, break it up with a little bit of texture. And that's looking pretty cool. And then what else do I have here? I have this block of coal coke, our familiar old reliable friend, and I can come across and make like smudges, like dirt, like that on here. And yeah, I think that's going to be good. Yeah, I think it is. So I did that, and it looks a lot better. It looks good. It looks how I imagined it when I built it. I was originally kind of nervous because at the beginning, when it was just looking like the same thing I did You can't see it at all from over here, can you? But I think it is coming together, and I will add more details as we get more stuff around to add, you know, some sort of logical character to it. I did this path here with this brownstone stones sunken in. I'm gonna have this be like grass. I was going to have it be like sand, but I think I'm gonna have it be like grass. Yeah, and I'm gonna do that by defining, you know, I do that by defining things like the textures and the way that it looks and the way that it interacts with other materials. So, and I think that looks good. Well, I brought this over here because I intend to have another something going off that in that direction, but I don't have it there yet, but it will be there one day. Right now, what I need to do is make some rocks. I think this would be a good place for like a rock garden, and I'm not entirely sure how I want to go about that, but I guess the first thing to do is to make some rocks would be the most logical way of making a rock garden. Don't know how you would make a rock garden without rocks, but I will not limit your creativity with my narrow-minded lack of creativity. And there's a rock. I'm going to move these down to probably a 4th or even 8th block scale when I get done doing all of this, like off camera and such. But for right now, I think I brought a couple. I didn't want to go stone because that was sort of out of our color palette here, and so I found all of the blocks in the creative menu that were vaguely tan like, and I think we'll go do stuff like this, and yeah, that's gonna start to look good, and I can put maybe some bigger ones back here. If I can just model it out here, and I don't want it to look like it's sunk into the wood because that's not how wood and rock would interact. So I want to make sure that you got some little bit of a dip there behind there so that it doesn't look like it's part of the wood. So it looks like it's against the wood and not like sunken back into it. Because these would be rocks that people would put here, so they wouldn't be something that you would build around, and that's kind of a little bit, yeah. And I'm gonna keep doing that. Gonna make these rocks look a little bit better, you know, off camera when I have more time to just hoe and hum about how they're formed. But that is about how about I'm gonna be handling probably both this area and this area. So I got the rocks in. You can see they're down to 8th bit scale now, and I think that's looking good. I mean, they might look better if I brought them down to 16th block scale, but I intend to do more rock structures like this just around the environment because that's the motif that we have established, and if 16th block scale is just going to take too long to do all that stuff, and if I do some of them in 16th block, it's going to make the ones that are in 8th blocks look unfinished. So I left them like that, and they look fine, I think, as they are. You'll also notice that I started piling up this cyan concrete powder around the stuff because I want to emulate the idea of long grass. And I didn't want to do that over the entire space because you can tell in these spaces right here, all the surfaces and all the little shadows make it so busy that it like if it were over a long distance, it wouldn't look good. It would look, I don't know. So what I'm doing is I'm having the grass come up by features, so by this ledge, by the path, by the rocks, because it's also emulating, if you'll see in real life paths, the grass around path and rocks and edges and stuff is generally longer because you can't get in there as easily with a mower, so it tends to grow up more easily around there. So that's that, and I think that's a good touch. It adds a little bit more immersion because it you know, you have depth and stuff, and you're not just looking at a painting, you're looking at a 3D model, and that just sort of brings it up as 3D, what's it? And it also kind of highlights the path. Another thing that I've been doing is adding these because if you look right here, there's a really, there's detail, flat, detail, and it looks a little, what the hell was that? Some noise outside. Monsters, I guess. I'm adding a little bit of details like this to sort of transition between the areas so that they're not just, you know, just the detail by the path. And what it does is it's just, you know, when you're looking at a field of grass, your eyes are going to focus on individual tufts, and some of them are going to be longer because, you know, you don't like in a space like this, you wouldn't necessarily be going with a giant mower. You'd probably be going with one of those push mowers. So you would have little tufts of grass in between the areas that you were, you know, doing the whatever to the grass, cutting, mowing. There we go. And so that is that, and I think that makes it look better too. It's kind of like, it's kind of cartoony, even like when you look at cartoons or cartoon drawings and you see that sometimes the lines of the grass they're just scattered about instead of defining every little piece of grass, and that's kind of what we're doing here. So the next thing that I want to add to this place is a little bonsai tree, and I want to come in here. And I guess I'll bring the trunk up, have a little bit of roots like that, maybe, and yeah, like that, and bring that up, and come up here, and let's arch this up. I have not planned this, so it could use some fiddling, and maybe add some branches like this. Bringing out a branch, and we can curve it a little bit like that to give it a look that it's curving in multiple angles, all three spatial dimensions it's curving in. And bring this one up too. That might be a little too. One trick with trees is that branches tend to, the slope of the branches tends to be shallower at the base of the branch, and then it tends to increase its slope up like that. So it kind of stretches out a little bit horizontally and then goes up, and you can see that effect here. I did, I think, pretty well, where I have this straight and then a shallow curve, and then it sort of spits up as it goes to branch out. So I think I want to make sure that is in effect here. And I think I'm going to bring back a third branch like this. And with that, I can come through here, and I think I'll take this down to 8th block scale since it is a bonsai tree. And I'm going to come in with a little branch action like that, and like this. And yeah, I think that's starting to look good, and I'll come over here, and I think on this one I'm gonna have a 3 cropping out. I'm gonna have 2 up here and 1 a little bit down here to make it different from the other ones, and up we go. And then finally this one, the highest one. On one more, there we go. That's a little lumpy, but I'll fix it off camera as when I bring the rest of this tree down to 8th block scale, and that'll be good. And so the next thing I want to do is start, instead of using leaves like I talked about earlier, because leaves are not really in the color palette. Green is kind of a color that I'm trying not to add because we have that in the other stuff that we're doing, and really it doesn't go with the theme that was established in the down in the cave with the sand. So I'm gonna use ice, this ice block as leaves, because it kind of does look like it. And I know this doesn't look that good what I'm doing here right now, because custom trees are a bit difficult in that you kind of just have to play around with it. But usually when I start a custom tree, I make the branches and then I start lining the tops of the branches with leaves first, and then from there I can go and fill in the middle as I need to. Now I'm thinking that I'm going to have these leaf areas be separate from each other, as opposed to making a giant thick like oak tree kind of thing, because it is, I'm kind of thinking of those Japanese bonsai trees where they tend to have the, I don't know what the trees are called because I don't know most things about most things, but I know what they look like in my brain, and hopefully maybe someone out there will too, but they usually have these flattish tufts of leaves that come out on different branches like this, and it's starting to come together. I'm gonna mess with this more off camera in a hot sec, but I mean, yeah, that doesn't look great, but I'm gonna mess with it a little more off camera and get back. I have got the tree done. It's a little bit derpy and a little bit odd, but I think it's gonna work. I tried putting some like little not see-through bits on top, like, but that didn't look very good. So I think that's gonna be good. It's small, it's cute, it's good. I've also done quite a lot more. I've started to plan out the whole building. Not the whole building, but just in general the areas around it. And I got this concrete area where I'm probably going to put like a fire pit or some sort of cooking area or something. Got this pathway, got this canal here, and I got a similar canal up over here where I'm going to have another garden area like this one over here, and then on top of here I'm going to put some sort of building. Maybe I was looking at some pictures of like Japanese pagodas and stuff, and that kind of I'm probably gonna pull some inspiration from that. But I got some more angle steps over here because I like them so much over there. And what I'm going to do right now is I am ill prepared for this segment. I was meant to get the bits and I did not get the bits, and bits acquired. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna, you see how I have this over here? I'm gonna put a similar thing, except I want it to be a design. That's more than just a little squiggle, so that it's like a feature place kind of mural thing. And as soon as I get this all filled in as the background here, I have no idea if this is gonna look good, but I'm gonna give it my best go. Yeah, I think that's gonna work. That looks cool. That color contrast there. And what I'm gonna come in here and do is you know, add some more things like that, but I cannot do that on camera, so I'm going to go do that. So I got this, which I like, but I don't love. And I'm probably gonna mess around with it more, but I can't do that today because I've been staring at this thing and staring at this thing, and I need to stare at something else because it's making me go cross-eyed, and there's nothing I can do more for it today. So that's how we're gonna leave it now. And I decided, I started out with doing this where I had the clay and I had it poking out a little bit, but then I set it back and changed it to the light blue tiles because I thought it looked better as a mural and less like all the busy surfaces that were going on here. I forget how much of this was in the last clip, but I started doing these, this pathway here, the same pathway that I'm doing over here, but now it is tonight and I need to get this video out tonight, and so I think that's gonna do it for today. We did this. Oh my god, I really like this area. Some of it could use work, but it's a good start. We got the theme established, and next time well, maybe I shouldn't promise what we'll do next time because we'll probably do something completely different from whatever I say, so I'm just going to say good day to you, Internet. Thank you for watching.